Now, this is not news to you. This occurs every single day, every single week with athletes all over the world. The good thing about triathlon is it's swim, bike, and run, wrapped up, swim, bike, run. And so in other words, we could use other modalities to keep him progressing. And so this is not revolutionary from Stuart and his case study, but it was something that was necessary as we went along the example. This is critically important. So in other words, when we think about this component, respond, don't react, it's an inevitable truth that obstacles are going to occur. And so for you, when they do occur, I want you to staple this mindset on your heart. How can I respond constructively to the next challenge that I'm going to face? Because you're going to do that. And you want to think about that third phase. That's when you're in the action. That's the benefit, by the way, of having some coaching, so that you have a partner in your journey with wisdom and with perspective that can give you some good counsel. But if you're self-coached, you have autonomy to make some really logical decisions and ensure that you don't just react. Now, this comes back to the whole flow of the coaching model. Because if you haven't started with clear vision and success, and you haven't mapped your focus, it's very, very difficult when things do go astray, when you do have a challenge, when you are set with an obstacle, it's really hard to respond. All that happens here is confusion, frustration, reaction. And so this is really where the model comes into play for you. Very, very important. That's principle number 3. Principle number 4, we've got 2 to go. This is my absolute favorite, reflection. It is the glue that holds the process together. Every single week, in Stuart's case, I think this was the golden key of him able to be successful. Because he had chaos going on, huge work demands, the family crisis, he had those niggles and injuries that we were navigating, and he didn't diffuse any of his ambitions and his goals. And so he had an optimization challenge every single week, and it wasn't predictable. That's the thing. And he's no different than many purple patch athletes. Low predictability, high chaos. Welcome to life. And so reflection became a core principle of how he could be successful. What did it look like? Well, it occurred on a week-to-week basis. We leveraged the Sunday special, my favorite tool for driving effectivity. So what did it look like? Well, it occurred on a week-to-week basis. We leveraged the Sunday special to drive effectiveness and also get clarity of priorities. That Sunday special is a wonderful prioritization tool, but it starts with reflection. So every single week, what Stuart did, and this was non-negotiable. In other words, he could not be coached by me if he didn't do this and deliver his thoughts to me every single week. He paused, always of a Sunday, and he looked back at the week prior. Reflection. What went well? What did I get done? Where did I fall short in either my habits, my recovery, my sleep? Did I nail my strength? Did I hit my high intensity, etc.? Some of the components we looked at. What worked? What didn't work? Where do I need to place my emphasis now? And with that information, he could feed into setting up his objectives and focus for the year or the week moving forward. So on a week-to-week basis, reflection was integrated into it. But also, along the journey of his highly ambitious racing schedule, particularly relative to the confines of his life, post-race, we did really healthy reflection. All right, where are we? We've got a really busy life going on. What went well here? What didn't go well? Because not every race was great, by the way. And that's typical, particularly when you've got a more chaotic life and you're trying to be very ambitious and goal-driven in the midst of all that. What went well? What didn't go well? Where do we need to adapt our focus, our priorities, and our emphasis as we move forward and go on this journey? And then biannually, we just did it twice. We wanted to do it quarterly. It only occurred twice. Sometimes that happens. We did a big refresh. All right, halfway through the year, where are we at? And as in the latter part of the year, we started to drive towards Ironman, we actually rejiggered the approach pretty healthily because of life demands. So that model that we're talking about throughout this January, we actually almost redid it halfway through the year because we learned what was working and we understood what wasn't working. So reflection was absolutely critical. Now, all of the research in the world supports reflection being critical. Harvard Business Review 2016 absolutely highlights how reflection improves learning and performance because it reinforces lessons and also identifies areas of growth. That's not revolutionary. We understand that in world-class sport. So how does this impact you? Build a reflection habit. Schedule it. Don't leave it to chance. Don't assume it's going to happen. You need to be programmatic about this. That's why I love the Sunday special as a tool. For professional athletes, where we started it with, very busy time-started executives, where I applied it after the pros, and now across the Purple Patch ecosystem. The Sunday special, a simple tool for reflection and then prioritization and planning looking forward. I think it's the biggest unlock. And in our case study today, I've got to be frank, I don't think Stuart could have been successful if we hadn't have had that as a practice, a habit. Really, really important. So what can principle number 5 be? We've talked about responding. We've talked about simplification. We've talked about reflection. What can we have as the principle number 5 to drive not Stuart's success, here's our case study, your success in 2025? Well, we know it's a journey. We know that there are going to be challenges. We know it's never going to roll out the way that we planned it. But you know what principle number 5 is? Build your team. Performance is never a solo endeavor. I don't care what you say. It's true that when you individually, even if it's just about you, and you take a selfish lens, you will get more out of yourself and more predictable and elevated performance levels when you take a team approach to it. It's true. Look, I coached Stuart, but it wasn't just me that helped Stuart. Stuart had a team around him. He brought his family in for support, and we made sure that we coordinated all of the training and all of the habits into the family schedule and calendar. We ensured that they were constituents of the performance journey so that he could remain present and focused on his family, ultimately the most important thing. He also had a strength and conditioning coach to help him, of which I coordinated. He had the community of the Purple Patch athletes, and he leaned into that community. That was really helpful to hold him accountable and to support him on the journey. He had the bravery to actually share his journey and enable people to understand. And you know what? Within our community, there were a whole bunch of people that I'd either navigated similar challenges before or were going through parallel experiences at the same time. And that really helped him with perspective and bravery to do the things that I was asking him to do. Because it is not easy if you have a preconditioned mindset of what it's going to take to be successful, and then suddenly you have to take a completely different path to get there. Team is critical.